I just saw an update that tax season 2026 is going to be 33% shorter than it has been in any tax season than I can remember, going back to when I started in 2008, 17 years ago. This is from Ed Zollers, and he puts these updates out. So IRS Commissioner predicts upcoming filing season will begin around President's Day. So the upcoming filing season is expected to get off to a late start, with the IRS aiming to begin to accept returns somewhere around President's Day, February 17th. It says 2025. That is a typo. I'm sure they'll fix this soon. It's February 17th, 2026. This was just posted July 29th, yesterday. It is July 30th, 8:52 a.m. This was posted yesterday, so that should say 2026. Per a statement made by IRS Commissioner. So the current IRS Commissioner, Billy Long, at the National Association of Enrolled Agents Tax Summit, July 28th, 2 days ago, he said that you should expect tax season filing to start around February 17th, 2025. What does that mean? That means that is when the IRS will accept tax returns. February 17th. Normally, they start accepting tax returns around mid-January, between January 15th to maybe January 25th. This is the latest I've ever seen. So just to break this down, because I know that you don't work in tax prep and you don't quite understand tax season the way that those of us who work in this day in and day out do. But tax season is 3 months long, mid-January to mid-April. So that's mid-January to February, March to April. That is a 3-month tax filing season without extensions that just got cut by 1 month. That's 33% less time to prepare and file tax returns by the due date of April 15th. Now, one thing I want to say here is extensions have always been a normal part of tax season. Extensions actually are more beneficial in plenty of situations where you're waiting on information. You want to make sure that you get the tax return filed correctly. You want to make sure that you get some calculations. Like if you're waiting for kind of, hey, what can I put into my SEP contribution? You want to make sure that you get this right and that you're complying and that you've looked at everything that you can. Extensions have always been a normal part of tax season. Even without kind of that piece that I just mentioned, 80 to 90 to 100% of a lot of tax preparers' revenue comes from tax compliance, from preparing tax returns. Well, if you had 100%, 80 to 100% of your work, your revenue, that has to be fit into 3 out of 12 months, that's 25% of the calendar year. So could you do 80 to 100% of your work in 25% of the year? No, most people can't. So that's why extensions are a normal part of tax season, even more so this coming year. So to set expectations, to communicate early and often with you, I want to let you know that this is definitely going to impact tax prep in 2026. There will be more extensions across the board, not just for my clients, but across the board. So I just wanted to let you know that if we get your information by mid-January, late January, we might be able to prepare this. The tax software isn't going to be updated yet either. So not only does the IRS have to create new forms and schedules, they have to update current forms and schedules. They have to rework calculations based on the new tax law. So they're already saying that they're expecting that to delay tax filing, the date in which they will start to accept returns, by 1 month. Well, our tax software can't finalize the forms until the IRS does. They can't finalize the calculations until the IRS does. So we're not even going to be able to start preparing returns in the software and holding them until February 17th. We're going to have to wait until the software has its version out and then start preparing returns. Now, there may be able to be a little bit of data entry here, but again, it's going to be a delayed and condensed tax season. Maybe they pushed the due date back. They did that during COVID. I don't know. We'll see. I would not expect that, because what they're probably going to say is we already have an extension process. Follow the extension process. Extend the tax return. So just be ready for that. I want to communicate that so your expectations are there. Even if you are some of the earliest people to get your work into us, your information and documents into us, we're not even going to be able to hit submit until mid-February on tax returns. What does this mean for the tax industry? Well, if you're looking for a tax preparer, One, there's a lot of people still looking for tax preparers. We've got TurboTax. There's talk of AI, being able to do tax returns. I've tested it. I would not trust AI. If you've got a DIY situation where you've been using TurboTax, that's fine. There's plenty of people who can fit into that category. Keep doing that. You'll be all right. But if you think that you're going to jump out of having someone else prepare it, or that AI is helping and making tax compliance is getting harder. It's harder than it's ever been before. They keep changing the laws. The laws are getting more complex with every addition that they add. And again, there's plenty of people who can DIY this. There's plenty of situations where you're perfectly fine using a TurboTax or an H&R Block or Tax Act or any kind of self DIY prep software. But there's still a ton of people who should not be doing that. Anyone who has a rental property, a Schedule C business, RSUs, stock options, equity compensation, the premium tax credit, honestly, health savings accounts. I mean, if you've got some of these things, if you've got a brokerage account that goes on Schedule D with capital gains and losses, these are all situations where I think that it's worth it for you to hire someone to do your return and to be thinking through kind of tax strategy as well for you. So what does this mean? There's going to be more preparers leaving the industry. We saw this during COVID. We saw this with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Every time something passes like this tax law, it gets more complex. Then you shorten the window of time. The pressure goes up. There are a ton of people who are close to retirement age. There's already the boomers in every industry who are retiring in droves because they're all hitting retirement age. But now you have people also in the tax prep, tax compliance industry specifically, who are they're getting close to retirement, and they're like, hey, look, I'm close enough to retirement. I don't have to deal with this complexity. I'm just going to go ahead and retire early. You've got other people who are struggling to keep up with all the updates, and they're just jumping into different industries. They're doing different work. They're moving to bookkeeping, or they're moving more to like advisory work or something or whatever. The supply of quality tax preparers, people focused on tax compliance, is going down, but the demand is staying strong. So basic economics 101, as supply goes down and demand remains high or increasing, the price is going to have to go up. You should not be expecting $200, $300, $500 tax return prep fees. You should be expecting fees to continue to go up. And so if you're looking around and you're trying to price shop this, I don't recommend that. You're going to end up getting what you pay for in this space. I see a lot of returns from folks that just don't have the competence to prepare returns. I see a lot here in Orlando and bigger cities that are just fraudulent. There are tax preparers with low ethical standards that know that you're focused on whether or not you get a refund, and so they will do whatever they can in the tax software to get you a refund. They're making up information that you're on the hook for. Even though you hire someone else to prepare a tax return, you sign that tax return, you take full responsibility for everything that's in there. Now, they could get in trouble for fraud, but you're still going to have to pay the tax and the penalties. They're not going to have to pay that, even if they filed a fraudulent return. So you need to be reviewing through your return. All right, so that, a little bit longer than I was hoping for on this video, but that's an update. What to expect, condensed tax season. I'll continue to communicate regularly with you. More extensions. If you've never filed an extension before, I understand it's okay. It does not raise red flags with the IRS. Extensions are not a red flag. They are a normal part of tax compliance. If you have any questions, feel free to send those over to me. Thanks for watching.